Shane Van Gisbergen picked up his second oval top 20 of the season. That first one came back at Darlington. I guess it's been about a month now since that. But Kansas Speedway, another 1.5 mile racetrack, which is equivalent to 2.41 kilometers, by the way. I almost had that memorized, but I had to write it down again. So, yeah. Kansas Speedway, another 1.5 mile. Texas, 1.5 mile last week. We got another 1.5 mile in 2 weeks at Charlotte. That's our next points race because next week is the All-Star race. No points, but the winner gets $1 million, so that's cool. Anywho, let's talk about Kansas Speedway. It's got 17 to 20 degrees of banking. That means it's progressive banking. You can run all over the track. The bottom, the middle, the top. We talked about Homestead a few weeks ago. Kind of similar to that where you can run all the lanes, but it's a different track. Like, it's a different shape. It's very similar to Vegas, I would say. So we've already been to a track similar to Kansas already, which you would think that it would help SVG with his limited Oval Cup Series experience. So with that being said, we had a crew change this week, or not a change, we had a sub. Or an alternate, whatever you want to call it. Josh Williams, the normal spotter for Shane Van Gisbergen, was out this week. I'm not really sure the details on this, to be honest with you, but he said, not where I was intending on watching the race today, but super thankful for a company that let me be here for my family and glad everyone is going to be okay. Let's go 88. And then you can see he's watching some data, the SMT and all that of Shane's day. So, not really sure what happened there, but they did have a backup spotter today. Don't know his full name. I went to NASCAR's roster website, and I did not see it officially on that website, and I never saw a post on it, but his first name's Richard. I did get that. They said that at the end of the race. They said, thanks for filling in, Richard. So, Richard, the backup spotter. If I figure out who you are, I will do so in the comments. Anywho. Backup spotter, Kansas Speedway. Let's get on to the racing. But before that, we have to talk about practice. They did have some tire issues. They had I think it was a left rear tire. Left rear tire went down on the 88 car, but it was not just an 88 thing. We saw a lot of cars in practice, even in the race, have tires go down. Teams that are pushing the limit in terms of the air pressures. Goodyear, the tire manufacturer, builder, whatever, they give their recommended air pressures for each race, each racetrack, each specific tire. And sometimes the teams push the issue. Yeah, they'll see that number and they might go a little bit lower to try to see what they can do. And a lot of teams did that this weekend. So SVG had that problem in practice, but nothing too significant. They did have to drop to the rear at the beginning of the race, but they qualified 34th. So they went back like 4 whole spots. Anywho, after that, there was a caution on lap 7, thanks to AJ Allmendinger blowing his engine. And during that caution, SVG had said that the car was really tight, so they decided, and a lot of other people decided as well, to pit. And SVG pits here. They come back out. They restart 35th. Lap 28, he said, it's a little bit better, still tight. And at this point, they had moved up a little bit. They were up to 32nd place. They pitted on lap 37, this stage long enough that you're going to have to pit somewhere in the middle. And with that caution falling on lap 7 versus the lap, let's call it 17, everyone had to pit once again in this stage. So split the stage in half, pit a little bit around halfway. I think it was an 80 lap first stage. So they pit on lap 37. 24 to go in the stage. SVG gets lapped by Kyle Larson, who was obliterating the field. He led 221 out of 267 laps. So yeah, they get lapped. They're at 29th at this point. So they're making progress, but because of Larson's rapid pace, Larson is picking him up, putting him down, lapping everyone. I think at the end of the stage, there were only like 20 cars on the lead lap. 21. I had it written down. 21 cars were on the lead lap. So they end up finishing stage 1 in 27th, a solid stage 1 for SVG at a new track and cup, if we're being honest. They're still a lap down, but he came on the radio, said that he felt comfortable, but when he caught the 42 and the 43 car in traffic, he started to get tighter again. But he did specifically say that he felt competitive, and we've heard him come on the radio at times when the car is not handling well earlier in the season, when he has said the car's so bad, it's so loose, it's so tight, whatever, I don't feel competitive at all. So for him to come in and say, hey, we're really competitive right now, or I feel competitive, I think that's a good sign. I would hope, I would assume. So ultimately, it's been a long run. They have to pit. They can't take the wave around. So they're still a lap down, but they are 25th at this point. Made some adjustments. Whatever adjustments they made did not work. He comes on the radio on lap 95, says that the car is worse. At this point, they have fallen to 29th. Lap 98, almost kills himself and Todd Gilliland. Yes, here's the clip. So yeah, loses the car, hits the wall a little bit, almost takes out Todd Gilliland, and as a result, if you hit the wall, it can affect the aerodynamics, and obviously aerodynamics are a big deal when it comes to race cars. So that kind of hurt the car in a sense that run specifically. So they came over the radio. You got to know that these teams have so much technology. You got the spotter up there looking at the right side of the car. They got photographers all over the racetrack who are uploading these pictures for the teams to look at the car to see what the extent of the right side damage is. And they come over and they say, hey, it's not that bad, or it doesn't look bad enough for us to have to pit now, or for us to have to really screw our race and just, essentially end the day, go 3-4 laps down. That would have just been detrimental. So on lap 110, the car is getting worse. Obviously, you got a little bit of right side damage, and SVG comes on the radio. He had been asking for the last 15 laps, hey, when are we pitting? When's it going to happen? Can we pit now? Trying to figure out, this car feels terrible, damage, whatever. And so he finally says, I'm ready to pit. He stops asking. He just says, I want to pit. I'm ready to pit. They said not quite, just a few more laps. They were trying to split the stage in half as they did in stage 1. So finally on lap 116, they do pit from 33rd. Somewhere in here, they get lapped again. They go 2 laps down. I don't know what lap. I think it was in the middle of that pit cycle. Once again, I'm not 100% sure. But somewhere in here, they go 2 laps down. Okay, just take my word for it. Then 5 to go. The car still doesn't feel right. He said he was just trying to get to the end of the stage, trying to survive. And, that's the end of stage 2. I think they end up finishing. Yep, they finished 31st. He gets on the radio, Shane Van Gisbergen does, and tells the team, I think you need to do a reset here. Steven Duran at some point said something about concrete in the wheel. I don't know if that's code word. I don't know if that's literal. But that one threw me off. What does concrete in the wheel mean? Someone smarter than me tell me what that is. So under this caution, they're 2 laps down, and they have to pit. And at this point, they're like, okay, let's check the right side damage. And let's also, let's make our adjustments. Make sure that the car's not completely screwed. So they do that. They take their time. They pull the fenders out on the right side. I'm assuming you can't really see it from the in-car. I'm just assuming here. Change tires, make their necessary adjustments, and they come back out. And I think they restarted where they were, 31st. 79 to go, he gets on the radio, says the right front is dead already. And then with 72 to go, there was a caution. And this is where it turns into Texas a little bit. Remember last week at Texas, we talked about how that race was about survival for SVG. Don't get involved in the wrecks. Don't over push it and wreck yourself. But just survive. Well, this week was a little bit more straightforward. Outside of this next 15-lap window that I'm about to talk about, not a lot of wrecks, not a lot of chaos. Pretty straightforward NASCAR race on a 1.5-mile track. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But he said the car didn't really feel different. They opt to not pit during this caution, which is a big deal because they took the wave around because all the leaders pitted. So the wave around essentially is if you're the first car a lap down and a caution comes out and you didn't cause that caution, you get your lap back. It's the free pass, the lucky dog. Those are the names for it. But if you're another car that's 1 lap, 2 lap, 8 laps, 26 laps down, if you stay out in the leader's pit, you can get the wave around, which gets you one of your laps back. So SVG, the 88, and a few other teams decided ultimately to get that lap back. As I just now realized that I was still on Josh Williams' tweet. So now they're 28th. They're the 5th car that's 1 lap down. Or there was only 5 cars that were 1 lap down at the time. Then there was another caution. And at this point, they pit, they get their tires, they make their adjustments, and then we have, guess what? Another caution. But this one works out in SVG's favor because he was the highest car 1 lap down. And as I said earlier, if you're that top car 1 lap down, you get the lucky dog, the free pass. Look at this. SVG's back on the lead lap in just the swing of a bat, and he's up to 25th. He even said woohoo over the radio in excitement. They only had 1 set of fresh tires left, so they did not pit. You never know if it's going to end under caution or there's going to be a late race caution. You need those tires. Caution with 20 to go, 26 to go, whatever. So there's 50-something to go, and at this point, just don't use them yet. Then guess what? There was another wreck. This ended up being the last wreck, but they were 24th at this point. They're back on the lead lap. They end up restarting 20th. And they finished 20th. They got passed by Ricky Stenhouse, but then Hocevar blew a tire, so they end up finishing 20th. He hit the wall a lot on that final run. He was really pushing the limit. You run the top at Kansas more than anything, so you're already close to that wall, but he was really hitting the wall a lot there. They end up surviving. They finished 20th. Describe the day as a decent finish. So a top 20. Here you go. Here's a post-race post. Post-race post. Progress again today, another top 20 and getting closer to our teammates on the ovals. I think we are making the safety culture HQ88 a little bit better and starting to get closer to the fight. So when we come over to the race results, Trackhouse, 18th by Chastain, who, remember, won this race in the fall. SVG in 20th, and then Suarez was involved in a wreck. He finishes 34th. So SVG, the second highest finishing Trackhouse car, only a few seconds behind his teammate. Promising day. Second top 20 on an oval for SVG this season. Next week is the All-Star Race, North Wilkesboro, so no points racing next week. But when we do come to the points over here, we see that SVG is, you got to scroll a little bit more. We're still in this. Scrolling down for SVG. 35th in the points he gains. He's only 1 point behind Cole Custer, 10 behind Brad Keselowski, and he's 13 behind his Rookie of the Year rival, Riley Herbst. We really got a heater for Rookie of the Year, but that was SVG's day at Kansas. Next week is the All-Star Race, so no points there, but he will still be trying to qualify for that race. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got to get back to the live stream now, but yeah. That was Shane Van Gisbergen today at Kansas.